Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Door in the Wall by Marguerite D'Angeli. When we left our friend Robin last time, he had a new nickname. It was Robin Crookshanks. So, Shank is another name for a leg, and the other little boy was simply calling him Robin of the Crooked Legs, not to be mean, but just to describe him and to set him apart from any other Robin that there might be. All right, here we go. As the days grew warmer, the plague abated somewhat. Fewer people came to the hospital for care, and those who had not died became well and went to their homes. The cloisters were once more free of strangers, and the corridors cleared of beds and pallets. Early one bright morning, Brother Luke came for Robin, taking him on his back as before. "See that thy hold is strong," he said, "for I shall carry thee a good way. 'Tis good exercise for thine arms to make thee hold on, and will be good exercise for me, too, carrying a great lad of 10. Robin laughed, because he knew that he was small for his age. "I have somewhat in mind for thee," said Brother Luke. He carried Robin in and out of halls and chambers, kitchen and parlor, cloisters and outer court, through refectory and almonry, stopping, as always, in the chapel to say a prayer. Then they went to the gardens at the far side of the monastery. "Here thy whittling will be more at home," said the friar, setting Robin in a small trundle cart and giving him the pieces of the little cross, which was almost finished. "Brother Michael will welcome thee to his part of the garden when thou'rt weary of being here. Brother Matthew will look out for thee, and yonder is Brother David, the stonemason. Wilt look after Robin?" he called to the monk in the carpenter shop. Brother Matthew nodded and left his work to examine what Robin was doing. "Fret not," he said, "I see he is one of us." "'Twill be a cross when 'tis done," said Robin in greeting, putting the two pieces together to show how they went. "But how to fasten them I know not. Could you tell me?" "I will surely," the monk assured him, "but I have better tools. Come nearer, where we can reach them." He moved the trundle cart close to the workbench, where he found a chisel. "Now, we shall make a half joint so, and fit it tightly, cutting each piece only halfway through the wood, so the cross piece will just fit into the upright one." He showed Robin how to hold the sharp tool and how carefully he must work so that it wouldn't go through the wood entirely. Then, he explained, we shall secure it with fish glue, and the dust which comes from using the rubbing stone to polish the wood will fill in the least crack and make all smooth. He went back to his work. Robin, too, went to work. It was exciting to use the sharp chisel. It slid easily into the wood, peeling off the smallest slivers, which fell in a pleasant litter around him. Soon the square place appeared, where the other piece of wood should fit. For some reason he did not know, Robin felt very content. He loved the smell of the wood he was whittling, even the acrid smell of the oak that Brother Matthew was working. He liked the sharp whistle of the plane as it slid over the board, and the ringing sound of the chisel on stone from the mason's shed. Even the tiresome call of the cuckoo in the walnut tree was only a pleasant sound of summer. The sky above was like the garment of Our Lady, blue, gold-bordered. Robin stopped to rest, watching the birds that darted about the garden. He felt so strong that he was sure he soon would be able to get up and walk. He began to whistle and set to work again. For a long time, only these homely sounds were heard in the garden close, for the monks did not talk at their work. Then it happened. The sharp chisel slipped and cut a gash across the longer piece of the cross. It broke. Away flew the other piece as far as Robin could throw it, and after it went the chisel, narrowly missing Brother Matthew's head. Robin's face was drawn into a black cloud of anger. and if he had been able, he would have stormed out of the garden. But he was bound to stay where he was, so he took out his anger in words. "Treacherous, misguided tool!" he shouted. "I'll have no more of you." Brother Matthew looked up in astonishment. "'Tis not the tool that is at fault, but thine unskilled hands," he said quietly. "If thou art to learn to use it, patience and care are better teachers than a bad temper. Think you I am but a carpenter's son and apprentice?" But as Brother Matthew kept his steady gaze on Robin, anger evaporated. He covered his eyes with his arms and wished he had been truly a carpenter's son. Then his father would not have been away at the wars, or his mother in waiting upon the queen. They would have been at home, and he with them. "Tomorrow is another day," comforted Brother Matthew. "Take thy rest for now, and thou wilt do better work next time. Here is Brother Luke coming to care for thee. I shall not tell him how nearly I lost my head." Brother Matthew's eyes twinkled as he reassured Robin, who had given him a questioning look. Later, while the good friar cared for him, rubbing his legs and back, working the muscles of his hands and arms, he said, "I was tired, but now I feel better. You are very kind." "I see thou art getting stronger. It may be that this rubbing helps thee. How? I know not. I am no physician. I am but a foolish friar. But it may stir up thy blood and make thee more comfortable. God's good time, his sunshine, and the love that is born thee are all healing. A bright spirit helps too, and that thou hast." "Today in the garden I felt that soon I should walk," said Robin. "I must get well before my father returns from the wars." "Whether thou'lt walk soon, I know not. This I know. We must teach thy hands to be skillful in many ways, and we must teach thy mind to go about whether thy legs will carry thee or no. For reading is another door in the wall. Dost understand, my son?" Robin smiled and nodded. "Yes," he said. "I see now what you mean by the door in the wall. We shall read together. Then there is somewhat of the earth and stars that Brother Hubert can tell thee, how they go in their seasons, so that in summer, when we rise for the midnight office, Orion is here, yet in winter, at the same hour, he is over there." Brother Luke stopped rubbing to point in different directions overhead as he went on. "Some say that the earth extendeth just so far, then droppeth off into a vast sea. Perhaps it is so, I know not. But if it be so, how come the stars out again in their season? Who knows? Not I. But some day we shall know all." "Will you teach me to write, too, and how to make letters as you promised?" Robin asked. "It sounds exciting now to learn, and I wish to send a letter to my father." "We shall begin today. We shall divide the days into teaching thy mind and teaching thy hands. Then weariness shall not give thee excuse for discouragement." Then Robin knew that Brother Luke had seen him throw the pieces of the cross and the chisel, yet the friar neither spoke of it nor showed in any way that he was disappointed. "Rest while I am gone," continued Brother Luke, "and I shall bring quill and parchment to pen a letter for thee. It so happens that 100 men-at-arms and 100 foot soldiers have sworn to serve loyally their king and the city of London, and are leaving for the Scottish border tomorrow. With them goes a minstrel well known to us, one John Go-in-the-Wind. He will gladly carry thy letter and put it in thy father's hands." He soon returned with pen, inkpot, and parchment, and arranged them on the desk near Robin. "Say this," Robin began, then went on to dictate the words as the monk penned them. "Sir John de Bureford, from his son Robin, greeting. It is a fine thing that your son Robin is left to the care of strangers. Had it not been for brother Luke, who is writing this letter, I should be dead. As you know, my lady mother had been commanded to attendance on the Queen at Windsor, and I was left to await the coming of John the Fletcher in the care of Dame Ellen. Just before the feast of St. Matthew, the 24th day of February, I woke one morning unable to rise from my bed, being very ill. So that when John the Fletcher came to take me to my Lord Peter de Lindsay's castle in Shropshire, I was unable to go. Wherefore he sent a physician to care for me, who came not again, but left me as before in Dame Ellen's care. The men-at-arms are with you, as well you know. The house servants, even old Gregory, have left our service, for the plague had them. Ellen too was taken of it, and I was left alone and helpless. My legs are as useless as 2 sausages, bent ones. Now I am in the care of this good brother at St. Mark's. How then shall I do? Send me a letter, I beg you, and farewell. Now attend, said brother Luke. I shall read this slowly, pointing out each letter and word, so this may be thy first lesson. The 2 heads bent over the parchment together. Brother Luke's tonsured, Robin's dark and thickly thatched. Oh, said Robin, you have made it look like poetry, with red capitals. Yes, agreed brother Luke, but when it is read to thee, 'twill not sound like poetry, I'll vow. Thou hast not minced words in thy letter. Slowly and carefully he spelled out the letter to Robin, who would not change a word of it, but signed his name with brother Luke guiding his hand. The friar folded it and took it to the scriptorium to seal before sending it off, then gave it to John Go-in-the-Wind, who waited. June passed, and the days lengthened into summer. The plague had died out, but with its going went many of the people of London, even some of the monks. Once more the monastery kept its usual round of service to God and humanity. The monks who were left added to their own the duties of those who had died. Brother Luke sometimes helped in the preparation of food. Sometimes he carried Robin down into the kitchen, where he could be warm on a wet day. It was there that he finished the little cross. Although it is yet too soon for thee to carve figures for choir stalls or for bosses for chapel, a child's puppet could be made more easily. Why not make one for that poor girl child who hung to my skirts that day? She dwelleth by Houndsditch, in a poor hovel where I go on my errands. A girl's plaything? Asked Robin. Then he began to think what fun it might be to carve out a face. He might even make the arms and legs so they would move. Yes, he said, I will try. So he began making the doll for the little girl. Head and body were to be in one piece, with arms and legs jointed. Brother Matthew will help thee to work that out, said brother Luke. Soft pine again was used, because it was easier to cut. Robin became so excited at seeing real features emerge from the piece of wood that he could hardly bear to take time to attend to his studies. Reading went well, and he was beginning to make fair characters in writing with the quill. On clear nights, brother Hubert took him to a high tower of the monastery to tell him of the stars. He told Robin, too, of far countries, the Holy Land, where crusaders had fought for the tomb of our Lord, and of Greece and Rome, whose ancient languages were the beginnings of many other tongues. He told of Roman legions who had come to Britain centuries before, and of Saxon and Danish kings, who in turn had ruled their land. Robin couldn't always remember which ones came first, but he liked to hear brother Hubert tell about them. One day Robin was sitting in the trundle cart finishing the child's doll when Brother Luke came into the garden. "Thy hands are well used to the chisel now," he said in praise of Robin's work. "That is a face and body right enough, and I see thou'rt attaching the arms. Will they move then?" "Yes," said Robin. "See how this peg fits into the shoulder, then slips into the top of the arms, and it swings. See?" "It will make a little child very happy," said the friar. "Now, because the day is so fine, and thou'rt getting so strong, it might be well if we should go fishing." Fishing? Could he really leave the hospice and go fishing? Even the fun of fitting arms and legs to the doll could not keep Robin from wanting to get out into the fields and away from bench and bed, stool and trundle cart. "I could sit against a tree and fish too, think you?" "No doubt," agreed Brother Luke. "Come then." He lifted Robin to his back, and they went down the green to the brook outside the walls. They fished for a time, each catching several trout, which they wrapped in leaves. The sun shone warm through the leafy grove. Insects droned in the noon heat, and the water slipped musically over green mossed stones. It was very still. Suddenly the quiet was burst with the shout of boys' voices. 6 or 7 urchins ran over the green, stripping off clothing as they came. Robin, looking over his shoulder, saw Geoffrey Atwater, the same lad he had first seen limping through the corridors of St. Mark's. Geoffrey raced down the bank ahead of all the rest, swinging his crutches ahead of him and taking in his stride twice as much ground as the other boys. Geoffrey saw Robin at the same moment. "Hi, Crookshanks," he called. "Art finding fish for thy fasting?" Off came the last ragged garment, down went the crutches, and with a whoosh, he was in the water with the others and away with the current. Thrashing arms and legs beat the water into foam and spoiled the fishing. Robin wished with all his heart that he could go into the water and swim too. It was all very well for Brother Luke to bring him fishing, but it only seemed to make it harder that he couldn't run about or swim like the other boys. The friar saw Robin's hungry look. "Off with thy jerkin," he said, at the same time rising and taking off his own habit. "We'll give thee a good bath and cleanse thy humor. Who knows? Mayhap we can teach thee to swim." He pulled off Robin's hosen and carried him into the water, holding and dipping him where the current ran deep. "Now, swing thy arms about with fingers closed to push the water back." Robin pushed and felt himself moving along with Brother Luke walking and supporting him. All the troubles of the past months seemed to float away with the running of the brook, and strength and power to flow into his arms. It was wonderful. Brother Luke didn't allow him to stay long in the water, but promised to bring him every day. "For some time I have had this in mind," he said. "Now I know I was right. This will make thine arms even stronger, and soon they will help thee to get about on land as well." "How?" asked Robin. But even as he said it, he knew what Brother Luke meant. Crutches, that was it. With crutches, he would be able to go about as Geoffrey did. He could play at duck on a rock with the boys. He could join them in hoodman blind or hide and seek. Crutches would be almost as much fun as stilts. Then Robin remembered that his father expected him to be a knight. How could he ride horseback in chainmail while his legs were bent? And he had to use crutches. How could he face his father? How could he bear his mother's pitying look? How would they feel to have a son who could not fulfill his knightly duties? I see thou hast my meaning, said the friar as he finished dressing Robin. Crutches or crosses, as thou'lt have it, 'tis all the same thing. Remember, even thy crutches can be a door in a wall. By the time they are made, thou'lt be ready for them, God willing. Up now, and hold fast, whilst we go up the hill. From that day forward, swimming became a part of Robin's everyday life. Besides reading, writing, and the study of history and the stars, Robin was given certain duties in the routine of the church. At the lectern, during rehearsals, he turned the pages of the Missal, a book of music notes large enough for all the brothers to see as they stood in the chantry. Each day, too, he worked with Brother Matthew in the carpentry shop. He liked the music and the carpentry better than the reading and writing. But best of all, he liked the swimming. It made him feel free and powerful. Even on cloudy or rainy days, and when the weather was quite cool, Robin was taken for his daily swim, and soon he was able to dive beneath the water and play tricks on the good friar. Once, when the boys saw Robin's little boat, they begged to be allowed to sail it too. But they were all so eager to try it that soon its rigging was broken and its pennant was dragging. So Robin helped each of them make a boat of his own. Geoffrey's was made from a piece of the willow overhanging the brook. A twig stuck into a wormhole made the mast, and another twig through a leaf served for a sail. Then Dickon must have one, then Alfred, and the swimming hole became a boatyard. Sometimes they marked out squares on the sandy bank and played a game of checkers with round stones. Sometimes on hot days, all the time was spent in the water, and the boys raced Robin to the weir and back. Once, Robin beat them all. Crookshanks here is as fast as any of us, Geoffrey said proudly. Then Robin felt as if he were one of them. Once, when Robin dived under water and hid in the rushes, Brother Luke at first scolded him, for he was frightened. Then he said, "But I am glad for thy mischief, for it is a sign thou'rt well." Robin had another reason for knowing he was well, but he kept it a secret. Work was begun on the crutches. They were to be simple, straight staves with cross pieces at the top to fit under Robin's arms. Brother Matthew had found the wood of proper kind and size. Then he sawed it the right length, allowing a little for finishing. Brother Luke wheeled Robin to the shed where he could watch. When the first piece of wood was put into the vise, and Brother Matthew began to draw the spoke shave down the length of it, Robin thought it time to tell his secret, for he wanted very much to have a hand in making the crutches with which he hoped to walk. "Can I shape the pieces, think you?" he asked. "Look," he directed, "I can bear my weight upon my feet, though I cannot stand long alone, nor can I straighten. But can I not lean upon the bench?" To the surprise of both brothers, Robin hitched along slowly toward Brother Matthew's workbench, where he leaned for a few moments before he found it necessary to sit down. "Now praise our Lord's mercy," said Brother Luke fervently, at the same time putting forth a high stool for Robin to sit on. "Now 'twill be thine own crutches thou wilt wear, made by thine own hands." Brother Matthew blessed himself to show how grateful he was, and arranged the work so that Robin could better attend to it for himself. It was more exciting to work at a real bench, to draw the sharp knife along the clean wood, to hear it snick as the knife took hold, then slither off into shavings. The oak was very hard and took real strength to work, But swimming had given Robin good muscle in his arms, so that little by little he was able to shape the staff. Several weeks went by before Robin finished the crutches, but at last they were done, and he could hardly wait to try them. "There should be padding and leather on the cross pieces," said Brother Luke. "Let us go into the city, to the Pouchmakers' Guild. I have errands for the prior there as well. Besides, it is Midsummer Eve. We shall see the gaiety." "Shall I walk then?" asked Robin. "For look you, I have been trying the crutches already, and can go about at a good pace. See you?" Robin slid off the stool, fitted the crutches under his arms, and was off across the garth all in one motion. "Softly, softly," Brother Luke advised. "'Tis a good way into the city, even though its sounds and its odors do seem to reach us here. It would be better to go pick-a-back and carry thy crosses most of the way. Thou'lt be glad of my old back ere we come to Ludgate, I'll be bound." It was exciting to go back into the city, especially this Midsummer Eve. The doorways were decked with branches of green birch, long fennel, and St. John's wort. Some had garlands of flowers, white lilies and such like. Neighbor was merry with neighbor, and those who had wealth set out food and drink before their houses for all who passed. "Can we not stay even a little while?" Robin begged. "No, my son. When we have done our errands, we shall go back." The brace girdler down Leather Lane willingly gave Robin enough leather to cover the crosspieces of the crutches, and hair to stuff it. "'Tis not fit to be sold," he said, "being poorly dyed, but 'twill serve thy purpose." They were not far from Robin's home, but he had no wish to see it empty and deserted. How he wished it had been open, and his father and mother there.